6 o'clock. Welcome, everybody. If you haven't met me, my name is Scott Arnberg. I'm the current USPSA Area 3 Director. There are 3 cameras pinned. One is Joel Park. He's going to be the host, and he is who will be monitoring and doing questions. And then Andrew is the call moderator. He'll be admitting and removing people if they are disruptive. So we're going to start off with just some general questions, an update on the 2024 Area 3 match, and then we'll go into submitted questions.
Yep. If you have questions throughout the meeting, feel free to drop them in the chat, the group chat, or if you have, banter, whatever. That way I'll keep track of those. That way we can get all your questions answered. Sorry to interrupt.
And we have about a dozen submitted questions. Once we're through those, then we'll give people an opportunity to raise their hand, and Andrew will turn their mics on, and so that they can we can have a more free-form discussion.
For the time being, people are able to turn their own on, but please don't. If that becomes an issue, we'll kill everybody's mic. So.
You're muted. I don't know if they're hearing you.
I can pick him up through your mic, kind of.
Oh, okay, perfect. All right, Joel, the floor is yours.
Well, let's start off talking about the Area 3 match. That's an easy place to start.
Okay.
So you already have a date set for next year. Sorry, what were we going to say?
Yep, go ahead. Yeah, we have a date set. It's the first weekend in August. The match is in practice score. Registration will not open up until the 15th of March. There was some talk about going somewhere else, and I'm still open to that for future years. There's been some changes at the Heartland Range. Hornady is actually taking over administration of the entire range, and Steve Hornady reached out to me personally and promised a level of support above and beyond what we've seen in the past. In addition to, they're going to be taking over and revitalizing and pouring money into the range. And asked as a personal favor if we would come back one more year. There were some challenges with this past year. I think the match went off great. The stages were great. The staff was great. Aaron Heimke's on the call here. He's going to be my co-match director this year. He and I and about 4 other people built that entire match in 23. At the end of by Friday of the build week, I had 50 miles in steps. So it was a week.
Yes. Well, I'll add in some context, and you could tell me to shut up if you want me to. Part of the problem, like what you said, Scott, you 3 were kind of running the show. Well, the problem we ran into was with the city. Well, let's real talk, honestly. So it was tough because the workers that were there helping us with the match, they were willing to stay longer, wanted to help, but they were limited in hours. So they were really, like, my boss said, I have to be off the range at 4 p.m. That was said to me multiple times. So, I mean, that just made more work fall on you. So it'll be really good that Hornady is taking over, more support financially and with bodies. So I think will be a really good thing for the match in 2024.
We'll do some different things. We took the feedback to heart. We did a post-match survey. So we're going to change up a little bit the squad matrix. There's going to be 11 stops instead of 12. You're going to see all IPSC targets again. That's part of my vision as an area director, to try to make USPSA more marketable to the mainstream media and mainstream sponsors. The headed target is a hard sell, and that is based on both my interactions with more mainstream sponsors, and I had a chance. Joel had a chance to talk to the people with MPA, and they're trying to bridge the gap through social media. And we're very thankful that we were predominantly IPSC targets. It made it easier for them to post social media clips and video. One of the things that I've submitted as an area director to the rules committee is a request for a rules change to allow options other than black, brown, and white for target composition. There's a lot of societal tensions that are involved with those colors. And I would like, as a match director, to have the option to do something different.
The other thing, just talking is logistical, not even being a politically correct. It is nice using the turtle targets because you don't have to worry about the heads drooping or having issues if we have to bag the targets. It does make it easy to keep the stages consistent from squad to squad, just the way the targets are configured.
Yep.
Perfect. Talking about the survey also, I mean, like real talk, we've had several conversations back and forth. So people that did fill out the survey, we really look all of that over. And I mean, I broke it down into like categories, almost a tally of who's for and against things. So we really did take all that information on board to try to make the match what competitors want. What about, I guess, what other additions are you planning on adding to the match this year, Scott? We've talked about a test fire bay.
Yes, we will have a test fire bay, and I'm hoping to engage some gun manufacturer and maybe Hornady on the annual ammo side. That bay will be centrally located, and something that I want to try to bring something useful for the members. This year was very difficult for them to get to a point where they could test fire or zero guns. It involved getting a member of the range staff. They had to be escorted. It turned it into a 20+ minute ordeal, and we're trying to alleviate that pain point. And it'd be great if we could get an MPA or a CZ or someone there to highlight their wares and give you something to do as you travel through the range. We want to bring a food truck. We will probably we're working over scheduling. I would like to have an in-person members meeting maybe Saturday night. With a split schedule, that's hard. The morning crew doesn't want to come back, and I don't blame them. So Joel and I and Aaron and Andrew will have to noodle that out and see what we can do. The one thing I want to do is try to be more available for in-person interactions with the members, both of Area 3 and of the USPSA as a whole.
Yep. The other thing we talked about doing was a side match of some kind. That's still being discussed, but I already have some ideas on that. So maybe we'll make it a secret until you get to the match. That way you can't set it up at home like a classifier and practice it over and over again. But I'm envisioning something, probably 3 targets, something farther out than 5 or 7 yards, at least like 10 yards. And I already have a specific drill in mind that I think will be a banger. But anyway, looking at doing something that would be fun that people would want to try over and over again. Just easy enough that you really want to rail at it, but it'll actually require some skill. So anyway, I think that'll be fun, and I think the test fire bay will be good. Especially we've got a couple of vendors also that are interested in bringing out trucks and that kind of stuff. I think Brian Connolly will be there again, so it'll be a lot of fun. Also, Tanfo Timmy, not a bad idea. El Prez, that is a good one. Maybe no turn, maybe Vice Prez was a thought I had. But I like the way Timmy's thinking. Tim, what about a Vice Prez at 10 yards?
What about Vice Prez at 25 feet with steel targets?
Could do that too.
That'll really, that's good fundamentals, right? You just rip off 6 quick rounds.
Yes.
So
yeah. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it. I think the match will be good.
All right.
You ready to start getting into the questions?
Let's get into them.
All right. I'm not pulling any punches. I'm just reading to what was sent to me. So one of the questions, I believe it's very bad practice to allow the directors to change bylaws. It should be by vote of the members. That is a large undertaking, as it should be. Bylaw changes should not happen often. There's a lot of pieces to that.
There's a lot of pieces to that.
You can start any angle you want.
On the face, I agree. Bylaws changes should not be taken lightly. It seems like that has turned into the first option recently. We're learning now that the bylaw changes, I know they worked really hard on them in 2021, involved Delaware attorneys, and now we're still seeing some unintended consequences. So I would agree with that statement. Unfortunately, 10.2 was not waived. There was a bylaw change on that. I think you'll, when the minutes come out, you'll see how my vote was cast on that recent bylaw change.
Would you talk about what 10.2 is for people that don't know, by the way, Scott?
Sure. 10.2 is the section of the USPSA bylaws that says all board meeting discussions are confidential until the minutes are posted. And so the minutes should be posted this Friday. And then I'll be free to talk about that. But until then, I cannot. And so I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think there are some portions of the bylaws that I would like to change. 10.2 is high on the list. This is so some background. I've been on nonprofit boards, one or another, for over 20 years. Some with ranges, some without. This is the first board I've ever had where secrecy is the norm and not the exception. And I think part of the pain and the pressure that the board feels and I feel is because of this kind of lack of transparency. We have several social media sources that are critical of us. Some things are spot on, some things maybe are a little overblown. But if we take out the secrecy, then we take away all their power. And I wish that could carry through with the rest of the board, but it hasn't yet. That being said, there are some things on the bylaws that need updated. And I would like to see, as a board member, I would like to see some of that come from our membership. I think we have members all across Area 3 and across the nation that have legal experience, bylaw experience, nonprofit experience. If we could get a group of talented individuals to help put together a list of changes, or maybe even a version of the bylaws that they want to see that we could put forward. The struggle is to have a member vote. It could be done. I guess we can do presidential elections. We could, as a board, put that in front of the entire membership for a vote. But right now, any bylaw changes, they come from the board. And I agree that that's not ideal. I would love to see a way for the membership to have more of a voice in that.
But Scott, I'll play devil's advocate a little bit. Also, part of the reason of having an area director is a representative for you to make decisions on your behalf also. So, I mean, yes, I agree. There is, I'll be careful how much I say, but obviously there is some secretiveness that happens. But your area director is also somebody that you elect to represent your best interest and represent you. Maybe that happens in some areas, maybe it doesn't. Up to you to determine. But it is tough because you can't put everything up to a vote either, because of the money it costs. In my opinion, the money it costs to the vote, the amount of time it takes. It's an expensive process for the org, and it does take a lot of time.
Yeah, it does. But when I ran for area director, I knew that one, this is not a paid position. Two, it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of time, and it has. I mean, just the Area 3 match aside, board meeting this Monday, I sat down in front of the computer at 5:45 and I got up at 10:30 with no breaks. That's pretty normal for a board meeting. And so all the stuff outside of that, here's another night. But I was elected by the membership. I served the membership. I think that should be part of it. But I guess I'll make the call. If you have experience on writing bylaws, if you're a nonprofit attorney, I'd love to have a conversation about some of the changes I would like to see, and I'm open to hear the changes that you think would help make us better. The goal always should be to make USPSA better tomorrow than it was today. That's my goal.
Yeah. One of the comments, Jeff Pickman, I like this guy, I know him in person, but it says, as my area director, you are my voice on the board. I feel your voice is not being heard or being discriminated against by other areas. Not trying to start too much of a political discussion, but what can we do as members to get the other board members to let us be heard through you?
Email. You may not get replies to the board email, but those emails are seen. The only caveat to that is the board at uspsa.org goes not only to the board members, but it goes to the managing director and all the director employees. If you want to just send to the individual board members, you either have to list them out by name, or I believe the BOD at uspsa.org only goes to the board members. So those are seen. I do my best to reply to most of them. I'll admit I don't get to all of them. You know, I have only have so many hours in the day, and I have a job, a family, and I like to shoot. So
Scott, I'm putting you on the spot and maybe sharing too much of your business, but I mean, a lot of people like to get you on the phone, and you are very gracious about being, I mean, if I call you, normally it's going to be an hour on the phone. And I'm sure I know for a fact other people, if they call you and get you on the phone, it's an hour. You work till 5, 6 o'clock at night. You have to eat dinner. You have to sleep at some point. So I think you do a good job. I'm probably partial because we're friends, but of trying to reply and talk to engage with as many people as you can. But in reality, I mean, how much could you guess how many hours a week or month do you spend on, board or USPSA business?
I would say not related to the match. I mean, I had 3 hours on the phone today. So probably 9 or 10 hours a week at least.
Just engaging with members, basically, or doing
Just
board business.
USPSA board business. Today was I had a call with Donna. I exchanged messages with Frank. I had a couple members reach out to me in advance of this. And then, yeah, that was just today.
I get it. One of the questions was, has it ever been discussed where the section coordinators have a vote?
I believe a vote as far as
I
on
think
board business.
I'm assuming board business was the intent of the question.
No, yeah, there's not been a discussion on it. No, that would entail a bylaw change. Currently, the way the bylaws are set up, the area directors have the vote and drive the organization. I think that the area, I try to involve my area directors. We're doing quarterly meetings. And they all have my phone number, and hopefully they know that they can use it. I won't guarantee I'll pick up, but I will always call you back.
A question in the comments is, why do non-elected employees by the org see any email sent to the board's email?
I asked that same question, and the answer was occasionally questions are asked that those employee directors can answer, and they will do so in an effort to get a timely response to our members. I'm not going to comment on whether I agree or disagree with it. It was a bit of a surprise to me, but I understand why it's that way, and I have seen those directors jump in and answer questions that are in their area of influence.
Probably saying stuff I shouldn't, but that's when the good stuff comes after that. Scott already has a target on his back in a lot of ways. Him having this meeting and being willing to engage publicly with as many members that want to talk to him does not do him any favors amongst his peers. I'm speaking on behalf of me. But I mean, I appreciate what you're doing, Scott. Anyway, I'll shut up now. One of the questions, is it more important making Area 3 better or USPSA better?
Well, I think by making Area 3 better, I make USPSA better. There's a lot to work on. Every organization has a lot to work on. My area, I'll use expertise for lack of a better word, maybe familiarity is better, is the financial side, and that's what I'm focusing on now. The audited financials have been posted. We've all seen them. They weren't great. Well, let's be honest, they were terrible for 2022. If we can't right that ship, we've got a serious problem. 2022, off the top of my head, I think we spent what, 140% of revenue. I'm sure we have some business owners on this call. You cannot spend 140% of revenue year after year and expect to survive. So I was on the finance committee. Russell's taken that over now. They are carrying on with the stuff that I started. Russell's doing a good job. There was some changes approved that I think will help on the investment side of the world. But we've all run budgets, right? I help people every day plan for major financial goals, whether it be retirement, college funding, whatever. You can't continually overspend your income and expect to be successful. And I look back, I've been on the board since March. I can't point at something that the board has done to change the spending track we're on. And I owe you all an apology for that. And I can't say that I think 2024 is going to be any better. I would ask that you have faith. We will come out of this. We're not, I'm not Chicken Little. The sky is falling, but the sky's getting dark. And you got to keep the pressure on and keep sending emails. This spending track has got to change. I've seen finances through October. We haven't made any drastic improvements over 2022. Revenue is up, more matches, more activity fees are being shot. More people have joined. Membership is up. That's fantastic. Unfortunately, as much as I'd like to say, hey, we can grow our way out of this financial problem, I don't think we can. I don't think we can generate another 40% of activity fees. I look around in this call and I see a lot of match directors. If I were to ask you, can you, by this time next year, have 40% more people shooting your matches? I would guess the answer is no. I know as a match director, we run about 50 USPSA matches. Well, no, not that many. About 30 USPSA matches a year. I can't add 40% to that number. I just can't. No, I can't schedule 40% more matches. I can't fit 40% more people. So, the combination can be some increase in revenue, but there also has to be some spending reform. And I had a couple motions that were on this last board meeting. One of them got voted on. The other one I had to withdraw because I made an error in it. But I will be resubmitting it.
Will we see the motion
news
that had to be withdrew? Will we see that on the minutes or no?
As soon as the minutes drop, I'll be happy to talk about it.
Okay. Fair enough. Along that lines, I had a question that was sent to me directly. The question is, Bruce motioned to remove you from the finance committee and the board voted to remove you. Would you be willing to serve again if asked on the finance committee?
Absolutely. I have been asked to help consult and help implement some of the changes that I started. But I was reluctant to do that. The board removed me from that position. And even though I may not agree with it, as a board, once we vote and something's approved, we have to work together to implement it. And so I had been asked to help do things that were within the purview of the finance committee, but I had to decline until the board gave me permission to do that again. I anticipate, so once the new president takes office January 1st, he has the option to redo committees. And I don't want to speak for Yeeman. I think he's going to join the call when he has a chance. But I would be surprised if I wasn't able to get back in there and be back helping. But I don't want to, for a moment, give you the indication that Russell hasn't been doing a good job, but he has. And he and I have spoken.
Scott, if I could, what credentials do you have for, I'm aware, but maybe for people not listening, what credentials do you have to be in charge of the finance committee or speaking to
Sure.
finances?
So I've worked in the financial services industry for over 20 years. I started in banking, went into credit cards. From there, I went into the annuity business. I was in on the back end of ING throughout 2008, and got to watch. I told this story today. When I walked into the floor ING for my first day there, I looked at this 40-foot banner that congratulated them on $10 billion in sales the previous month. And now they're not even in business. And then I've been on the personal financial services. It'll be 14 years in a couple weeks. So I have about 220 households that I work with and help them reach their financial goals and manage their retirement.
When you say, yeah, household, you're basically saying someone trusts you individually with whether they retire or whether they work till they're 70 years old. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but is that fair?
That's fair. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a yes or no question. Okay. A question along these lines. I work for a company that breaks down all accounting by branches in a corporate level. Has USPSA considered breaking down all accounting expenses revenue based on area than corporate? I.e., it says nationals compared to corporate. So maybe talking about which areas are the most profitable.
All right. So when we're talking about area profitable, so number one, I just want to make clear that the area matches are not run through USPSA's books. That's a separate topic, maybe for another conversation, another short topic we could do on my thoughts on that. But yes, each nationals has its own profit and loss statement. The term for that actually for a nonprofit is a statement of activities. Profit and loss is what everybody understands. So each nationals has its own P&L, so we know exactly what came in the door and exactly what went out the door. Donna is doing a great job engaging an outside service to help make sure our books are accurate and timely, and she's made a lot of progress with that. I had financials for October over a week before the meeting, so that was great. But yes, the next step will be to make that level of transparency available, not just to the board, but to the membership.
Would that be in the forms of like a profit and loss statement, something along those lines? Am I understanding correctly?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. More money questions that keep rolling in. Why isn't USPSA combining divisions to save money at nationals?
Because so the decision to go to multiple nationals was done prior to my being on the board, and the thought process was to give more people chances to get in the match. What we're learning is that each nationals has a fixed cost, and every time you have another match, you have to repay that fixed cost. 2024, we're having the same number of nationals. Contracts were already signed. I anticipate, and this is just me speculating, that we will see maybe fewer nationals in 2025. There's been no planning. There's nothing that I know concrete. That's pure speculation on my part. So don't hold me to that. But match directors, you know that when you turn on the lights and open up the bays for a match, your fixed cost is about the same for every match. Nationals, the travel is the killer because we bring staff from all over. Very few areas have the amount of staff we need to run a nationals all local. And so you have travel and hotel and so I do not think that we need to cancel nationals. That's something that that has been said is my view. That's not the case. We just can't keep doing it the same way and expect a different result.
Well, and having a nationals is important. It would be like, I don't know, not having a Super Bowl or something. It is important to have a national champion to see for the people that train all year to find out who the best of the best is, or who
Right.
the best for that year, that month, or that day is. It is an important event to have.
I mean, if I were, king for a day, if I could pick it, nationals would be after all of the area matches are done. You would have all the champions from all the areas come up, and that's how you would put together the top squads. But let's be real. The match can only be so big. Um, right now, I think the number is right around 11 or 1200 different people shoot nationals each year when we have 4 or 5 of them. Um, I don't know if there is a range in existence that could take 1200 people in one 5-6 day match. Maybe. I don't know. Um, yeah. But if we
Financial
look at
questions. Right, go ahead.
yeah, if we look at expenses at USPSA, we really have 3 major categories. We have member services, we have nationals, and we have payroll. And nationals is one of the biggest one. Um,
The question that was sent to me directly was regarding the basically like the change in the pricing structure and allowing people to buy the life memberships at a cost, before the pricing went up. What is basically the question is, what does that look like for the future of USPSA's financials? Because you're getting all the money today, but you're not going to get their money again ever again, for lifelong USPSA members.
um, yeah. So let's just talk for a minute about membership cost. Um, something like 20 years, this membership was the same. Um, that should have been changed incrementally. It wasn't. Things happen. Um, could we have changed how we did that increase and telegraphed it a little better, been more clear and communicative? Yes. Um, but bottom line, all of those, and that was not a small amount of life memberships that were sold. Um, the org will struggle to not lose money on those. I mean, it's pretty easy if you take um, the total membership dollar. If you go back to the edited financials and you look at the total revenue in, exclude out activity fees, or you can actually total membership is on there. Just divide total membership by total payroll, and roughly what each membership costs per year. Um, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 some dollars. A life membership amortized over 20 years is $25 a year. So that means every life membership we break even at best, and that's assuming the magazine cost never goes up. And I think we can all look at our own lives and say that there's nothing in the last 20 years that I buy that has stayed the same price.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all in this sport because we like to shoot. I would say that our USPSA membership, followed by our match fees, are probably the 2 lowest things we spend money on. I mean, go buy some primers. Yeah, that's real money these days.
Or even hotel or your travel costs to get to a match.
Hotels, travel. Um, yeah, I drug that big Area 3 trailer back from Kevin's place and cost me 2 coil packs and of $1,000 truck repair bill. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy buckets. Well, speaking of Kevin, he has more questions for you. Does I like that guy. Does ensuring the organization adheres to the budget set by the BOD
Sorry,
fall
Joel.
under the president's
That's a
role?
different, Joel, just to be clear, that's
Yeah.
a different Kevin.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Kevin Hartman is this Kevin. I like this Kevin also. Sorry, I'll start doing first and last. I like this Kevin also. So the question was, does ensuring the organization adheres to the budget set by the BOD fall under the president's role? And then he's got the bylaw listed under, but I'm not going to read the whole thing out. I guess I can if you want me to.
I think
More, his
No.
comment afterwards was he was just trying to determine who's responsible for ensuring the organization adheres to the budget and presenting P&L monthly to the board for review.
I'm gonna say that I don't know exactly what the bylaws say on that, but I do know there was a discussion, and I believe there was a line item in one of the minutes, I want to say April or May, that reinforced the executive director's ability to control the budget and deny spending to anyone in the organization. And that's documented in the minutes, and so that's where that answer is coming from. I want to say April, May of this year. It's since I was a board member when that was done. I just don't remember the exact month. But I can definitely follow up, and when we post this.
Fair enough. Yeah, and there was a lot of bylaw here to look through. I just didn't want anybody to be
No,
censored
I
or
believe
their
that
question not read.
that would fall under the role of the managing director, executive director. And then we did document that in the minutes to make sure that she had it was clear that the board was giving her support and then empowering her to do that.
Well, the next question, moving along, we knew this one was going to come up. Will the polygraph test be on a live feed, and are members able to make a list of questions for the test?
All I know about the polygraph is that there was a motion that was done that. I've been sent some email links to schedule mine. I have, based on the math from the information that came in my email, this is going to cost the organization north of $7,000 just for the test. I don't know what other costs there will be. I have no intention of wasting my time or the org's money for this. For several reasons. One, it's junk science. It's not admissible in court anywhere. And two, this is I guess I liken this to our current medical system. We treat symptoms, not the cause. If we stop being super secret and just were honest and open with our members, there would be nothing for these social media outlets to talk about. So I have no intention now or ever to submit to a polygraph.
Let's see. Another question, are changing gears a little bit. Are there any plans to change the bylaws to include methods for the membership to remove elected officials from office early?
No. To my knowledge, there are no current bylaw changes being discussed. There was one that was on the agenda for the meeting on Monday that was published to the membership, and that one was voted on. But no, there are nothing like that. The only thing for that is the elections. How do I feel about that? I don't know. Elections are expensive. Now that we don't do the postcard, they are much cheaper than they used to be. But we're still talking, I believe, $6,000 to $10,000 for an election. By the time you hire the outside firm, they do all the emails, they do the counting. and then the results. So, you know, and I would kind of struggle to do that. I mean, think about the last election. We have 36,000 some members, 22,000 were roughly were eligible to vote, and 6 voted. You know, at what threshold would you put for removal? Would you say half the membership has to vote? Well, in which case it would be a meaningless bylaw,
Sure.
right? You know, so why? Um, then again, if you put it too low, then you just have a continually cycling of board members, and you have no coherent leadership. I would like to see term limits. I would love to see, you know, no more than 2 consecutive terms and no more than 3 in a lifetime. I think that's a reasonable, um, limit.
A question along those in the chat is, don't you think the membership could be able to remove area directors for gross misconduct? Couldn't that the area membership do that?
Well, if it's gross misconduct, you know, there's always 7-7. You know, any member of the board can be removed with or without cause by a 3/4 vote. So if it's proven gross misconduct, or even not, if you can get 3/4 vote of the board, they can be gone. Which I mean, honestly, is the implied threat with the polygraphs, or not implied, outright stated.
Mhm. All right, switching gears again. Could USPSA put out some new shooter orientation materials, something to help keep all clubs, staff, and competitors on the same page?
Yes, there's an initiative going through HQ right now for the new shooter experience. Donna, Rick, and I think Heather are working on that as board members. I've seen some initial stuff, and I did submit I have a 3-page-ish your first USPSA match write-up that I use all the time. In fact, I emailed it out to a guy today, that tells you what to expect, goes through basic range commands, what equipment, introduce you to practice score a little bit. So that's been sent to them. So that should be rolling out, I believe, in the first half of 24.
That's
But I
excellent.
don't want to take any credit of that. That's Donna and her team are working on that.
I like it. The next question is there an effort by more area directors other than you to make more of the meetings open to membership? Also make financials open, past and present, to membership? So I don't know. I guess it's tough for you to speculate about the intent or demeanor of other area directors. So it's up however you want to answer it.
Yeah. The desire is there from some of them. I don't want to speak for anyone specifically. But I'm not the only one banging the transparency drum. But it's going to take more than a handful of us, more than 1 or 2 or 3. We've got, you know, Ben Barry's coming on January 1st.
Hmm.
He and I have had some conversations.
I like Ben.
I like Ben too. You know, I met him basically pre and post election. I talked to him a little bit. Yeeman and I talked quite a bit. So, you know, next year will be a different year. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Plus, I think it'll just, as an outsider, a non-board member, just having Ben Barry's on is great for just a new perspective, a new life experiences, a new point of view, ideas. Just, you know, fresh blood is always a good idea, just to mix things up and bring in new viewpoints.
Yeah, and Ted did bring him into the meeting. Ben was present for portions of the meeting on Monday, so that he can kind of hit the ground running. So that was you know, Ben had asked and Ted had brought him on, and I think that's a great step.
Can you speak about, so basically he's not able to vote as a board member. He's just able to listen and observe, but not vote or give his opinion?
Well, no, he was able to talk, and there were a couple times in the meeting that they asked his opinion. But at this point, he's mostly an observer.
Okay. Well, plus also
And
that's just
it was
nice.
similar to the first meeting, that when I came on, because I think the meeting, I think, wasn't it, we'll have to ask Kevin Collins, I think it was the last day of February was the meeting. And I took office on March 1, and the meeting ran long enough that, I made one motion, and it was the motion to adjourn, and it was after midnight Eastern. That was my first ever motion.
Perfect. You're like, oh man, I'm so tired. Like I'm ready for bed.
Uh, yeah, well, imagine some of those folks on the East Coast where it's an hour later. Yeah.
Oh baby. All right, the next question is a banger, as the kids say. In regards to the 918 BOD meeting, per the minutes, after coming out of executive session, you moved to remove the current president. That was deemed out of order because it was not on the agenda. Yet, after going back into executive session, it was moved to remove you from the finance committee. That was acted upon, yet that was also not on the agenda. Why was that motion not out of order?
It was decided that, that was in reaction to, so how was that basically, because I asked to speak as part of the finance committee, and that was removing me from the finance committee was part of the finance committee, that they agreed that that would be all right. I was, of course, I had to abstain from that vote, because I can't vote against removing myself, obviously.
Mhm.
But that was the justification given. One of the other area directors had kind of, well, I don't, let's just leave it at that,
Okay.
because some of that was done during executive session. But the vote was done outside of it, and the questioning of whether it was on the agenda or not, that was outside of executive session. So, yeah, it was a surprise to me. But I did open the door by saying that, the motion I had was in relation to the finance committee, which I felt it was, you know, it, yeah, you got to
If
tread a
I
fine line here.
I
I
understand.
think we'll just leave it at that.
I want to ask, well, step back a little bit. I want to talk about the how executive session works. So, what like anything inside executive session you cannot talk about. No
Correct.
ifs, ands, or buts, and there's like even a waive to or a vote to waive confidentiality for the meeting. That still does not include executive session. Am I correct?
Correct. Normally, executive session is used for primarily two things. One, anything involving an employee. We don't ever want to violate an employee's privacy.
Hmm.
And two, anything involving contracts that could be, affected by that knowledge getting out. So, for example, if we're going to go to Pine Island for handgun nationals, um, we wouldn't want them to potentially raise the cost or anything like that. Not that we're saying we're doing that, just trying to throw an
Sure.
example
I
out
understand
there.
what you're saying.
That's normally what executive session is used for. Um,
Yeah, or I happen to be on the board at my proper gun club in executive sessions for disciplinary stuff also, where you wouldn't want what this person did or their first and last name. That wouldn't be record to any of the rest. If it's put in the newsletter, it'd be regarding this issue, disciplinary action was taken because somebody shot before or after sun up or sundown, something like that. But it wouldn't have the person's first and last name, their license plate number, their driver's license number, their cell phone number, where it wouldn't be that. It would just be this happened and this person was disciplined.
yeah,
So it'd be sensitive.
yeah, and I can, I don't know. It just seems like we have a really lot of those.
Mhm.
I've been on, again, 20 years on other boards, and I would say in the, was it 9 months I've been on, 8 months I've been on the USPSA board, we've had more executive sessions than 20 years on other boards.
Okay.
So I voted no on them. I don't think that ever gets recorded.
Really? Okay. I don't believe there is a vote for the minutes.
There has to be a motion to move into it, and there has to be a second to come out, and then there's a vote, but I don't know that it's ever recorded. I've never seen it in any minutes.
I don't believe I have either. This is the last question I have. So people in the chat, feel free to chime in with questions you have or stuff you want discussed.
Or raise hands, and then
Or
we'll just
yeah, or
report on
raise
it.
hands. This is the last one I have that was sent either DM to me or in any of the social media. Can you share, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but share the state of USPSA's finances and what investments they have. What is your outlook on the stability of USPSA's finances?
Okay, so there's two separate questions there. So one, on the investment side of the world, okay, so I'm going to expand on this a little bit. So one, when I was on my time on the finance committee, did some research and engaged with a new financial advisor that specializes in nonprofits. Because I am an advisor, I had to get permission from my compliance officer before doing this. This advisory firm I found through a Google search. I have no connections. My firm nor anyone at my firm could be USPSA's advisor. It would be a clear conflict. So that's why we went to a complete third party. We compared them to our existing firm, two other firms, and the finance committee agreed on this one. The drivers, number one, in my mind, was their expertise with nonprofits. Number two is we cut our fees from 1% to 0.4% per year, which is a pretty big drop. And then there was one other reason, and I can't think of what it is. Oh, yeah. And they also provided a solution for us to deal with the fact that we have a couple of bank accounts that exceed FDIC limits, and still have ready access to that cash. So from an investment standpoint, one, this firm is qualified. Two, I don't disagree with their recommendations. And Russell has done a great job on presenting their recommendations to the board. And I think the investment side of the world, we have a few more tweaks to do, but are on the right path and in good hands. Now, the financial status, I talked about it earlier a little bit. We have a spending problem. You know, the audited financials are out. I think we spent 500,000 more than revenue last year. We're not on an altogether different path this year. The biggest difference is activity fee and membership revenue is up. And so it makes the bottom line number look better. But Joel, I think, hit the nail on the head. We sold a lot of life memberships, orders of magnitude more than we normally do. And
Yeah, and
we're
that's why
gonna
the numbers are going to be up for this year. They're going to look good.
Yeah. And so that's going to be the board is going to have to work very hard to offset that over the next 20 years. There are some things that haven't been done for several years that need to happen. Don and I had a good conversation about that today. And once we get into the new year, and committees are structured around again, you'll see another big push of me trying to get this ship turned in the right direction. And I use this ship as a purposeful analogy. A company this size doesn't change on a dime. you know, but if you're traveling from New York to London in a ship, a 1 to 2 degree shift at the beginning can be the difference between ending up in London and ending up in Africa. And boy, those are two really different places. We definitely want to be in London. We don't want to
It's a
be
good analogy.
rolling into Africa when we expect to go to London.
Sure. Would you just, for people, maybe they don't, you mentioned names of people, but maybe people aren't up to speed. Would you just explain who Donna is and what her position is? You've
Sure,
mentioned
Donna.
working with her, but just so people would be up to speed.
Donna is the managing director. I think she's been in her position. I think Kevin Collins is here. I think just a year. Kevin, is that right? Yeah, Kevin gave us a thumbs up. So she's been in her role a little over a year. She was originally from Area 6, and she's the managing director. And I kind of funnel all my interactions to the staff through her because that's kind of her role. Um, and actually, I want to make sure I'm not giving a negative connotation. All the staff members that I've interacted with, both as an area director and outside, have been great. Rick Bratzel has helped me out immensely on a couple things. So, yeah, I've got nothing but good stuff to say about them.
Very nice. Well, this question is near and dear to my heart, I suppose, since it is the best division. People seem to approve of moving production to 15 rounds. Is this being discussed or considered?
It is being discussed. There is a poll out there. If you have not voted, please do so. Right now, I think I don't know if the poll results have been made public at all. The board has seen them. Just from my anecdotal experience and talking with people that actually shoot production and like the division and shoot it even with the numbers down, they're not the ones that I've interacted with, and it's been multiple, are not in favor of the 15. I think we saw at one of the presentations that Jake presented that if you take the limited scores, a vast majority of them are limited minor. And the speculation is that's the new person that shows up the match with a Glock, an XD, whatever, and 3 magazines. And the option is, download them to 10 and have 31 rounds, or fill them up and have 45 or 50. And almost always they fill them up. My experience as a match director is the new people are all coming with the dots on their guns, and they're all in carry optics, and they all have big mags already. And I think that's carry optics is the most popular division, and it's only getting more popular. Limited optics, I don't think has stolen from it much. I think honestly, limited optics has stolen more from open than not. And so I'm not necessarily opposed to. Well, no, I can't say that either. I don't think taking production to 15 will fix the division. I don't think there's any fix to it. I've been in USPSA. I've been an RO for 18 years. I've been in the sport for 19 or 20. Divisions come and go. Popularity goes. Popularity goes up and down on divisions. Right now, dots are the rage all across the industry. USPSA is just, I think, a reflection of that. I mean, think about the firearms manufacturers, all the major ones. Which of them don't offer a plastic entry level or even a high-end gun that's not optics ready on the slide? Almost none. I can't think of any that don't.
Yep. Well, I've used this example before, but your friend and mine, Kenny, we were driving the range one day and it was not a troll. He was legitimately, he's like, all right, I just got to ask. So to use iron sights, it's like you just put the front one between the rear sight, you put an even line across. That's where the bullets go, right? And he was being serious because he's never owned a handgun that doesn't have a red dot on it. So
Yep.
I know a lot of people like that.
Yeah, if I think back, our final couple matches of the year, we had 3 and 4 new people at each one of them, and they all had dots on their pistols. They all had slide mounted optics.
Yeah.
It's just it makes it's easier for you to hit the target. So
I agree. Okay, so the next question is, the chat's getting lively, which is good. Keep feeding us questions. Do you expect the rest of the board to actually seat Yi-Min Lin as president when the term starts, or will they again consider him resigned due to the lack of RO certification? If I recall correctly, there was a motion to change the bylaw that allowed DNROI to effectively remove board members, but I think that change failed.
correct, that bylaw change did not pass. And my only comment to that is your question will be answered when the minutes drop.
Okay.
As far as seating Yi-Min, your question will be answered when the minutes drop later this week.
Dude, now you've got me on the edge of my seat. How many members are in Area 3, and how can we get more engagement from them? We have 33 members on the meeting today.
All right, so let me get logged into my area director portal and I can answer that question. Area 3, there are 2,612 members. There have been 489 matches this year, 326 classifier matchers, or 326, if I read this right, 326 matches with classifiers, 456 total classifiers shot. 54 active clubs, or 54 clubs listed in my portal.
So the next question is, how can we get more engagement from them? Was the second part of the question.
Boy, I wish I knew. This is my first step, is to hold this call. I want to do this call probably twice a year, in addition to an in-person meeting at Area 3. I've made a commitment to my my section coordinators to have a quarterly meeting. And then I guess the answer to that is we have what, 36 people?
We have 33 members that are not organized.
So 33 members in this call right now. So 36 counting us organizers. My answer to that is each of you talk to 3 people. Now we've tripled that, right? I don't know a good answer.
Well, let me talk maybe crazy, maybe not crazy. Tell me what you think. People are less likely to speak up if they like the way things are going. So, for instance, maybe an opinion you have, maybe you don't. Like maybe something somebody could think is, I like Scott. Scott's doing a great job in my best interest. I'm gonna let Scott do his thing. I've got life, family, my own shooting, my own hobbies, kids, whatever. So it is easy that if you, for instance, if you feel Scott's taking care of your best interest, to just let Scott run with it and not engage.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's easier. It's always easier to do nothing. I will say the emails to the board, they are seen. You know, you may not get a reply, but they are seen. So, make your voice heard. That's the best way. I hesitate to say, hey, stop people at matches. From my perspective, if I'm at a USPSA match, I know that I am representing Area 3 and USPSA, so feel free to stop me. If I'm on the line, maybe wait until I'm done. But I know if I'm there, if once I step foot on the range, I represent the organization. I know that, and I expect members to ask me questions. I knew that when I put my name in to be elected. And if at any point I no longer want to do that, then honestly, I'll resign, because there needs to be someone, whoever's in this role, whether it be Area 1 through Area 8, if you aren't willing to talk to the members on the range, you shouldn't be in that role.
I agree. Well, Scott, I'll give people more behind the curtain. Again, you're going to be at the end like, why'd you keep doing this? But we were doing prizes this year. You and I had a lot of back and forth. Like, I want to do prizes differently. I want to do the random draw. I don't want to do the prize table. That was my idea. You were good at letting me run with the idea. At the end, we get the survey, and the survey is like, did you guys like it or not? And then we look at how many people attended the match, what percentage filled out the survey. And so it's like, it's tough to know. Like, did 100% really like it? Is the people that just filled out the survey, is that, like being real, like of the percentage of people filled out the survey, it was a very, very good response. People really, really liked it. So we just have to go off of the feedback we get from the people that do complete the survey. But that is a small percentage compared to how many people attend the match.
Yeah, it is. I think we had 100 responses, maybe. Yeah, which is actually 100 responses when we had like 250-ish in the match. That's a fantastic response rate. I can tell you from a marketing standpoint, there have been times where I've sent out hundreds of real hand envelopes I stuffed to get no reply. So to get 100 back, I think is fantastic. I really appreciate that.
I agree. And then while I was doing prize patrol, I'm like, hey, Scott, if I'm stuck doing this, you're coming along with me, which was good because a lot of people wanted to stop. They wanted to talk to you. You were good about making yourself available in the pavilion, luckily in the shade. And then if people want to come, talk to you, whatever, you're not the range master. You're able to sit and visit with people that want to have a conversation about the org, production, whatever they want to talk about. So that was good to make yourself available.
And that's a great point, Joel. That's part of the reason I'm not range master is one, by the time the match starts, I'll be honest, I'm tired. And I need, as a range master, I need to have absolute control of my faculties and emotions to be absolutely impartial and professional. And after setting up for 5 days, I don't know that I can do that. But at the same time, and more importantly, if I'm range master, I can't have that person sit down in the cart next to me and have a 20-minute discussion about their questions about the org, about the direction we're going, and listen to them. And unfortunately, some of the times, my answers have to be, I can't talk about that, or I agree and I'm doing my best, but don't expect a fast change.
Yeah. Well, again, a little bit behind the curtain. I've asked Scott before, like, hey, what's going on with this? And Scott will be like, yep, that was an executive session. I can't talk about it not because he thought some polygraph was coming. He was just like, I want to be able to tell people that I've never talked about this. I'm like, okay, fair enough. So I respect that. I'm not going to pry. I'll just ask questions. There was, to go back to a previous conversation, and I commented, Tanfo Timmy asked, if you saw any shifting. And so I asked for more. I was like, what are we talking about? I missed it. He was talking about the ship analogy, about that 1 or 2 degree changing. Tim was asking if you feel like that's happening, and he commented, you feel aside from Scott, most involvement on the member side falls on deaf ears.
I would say we probably need a 5 or 8 degree change, and I've seen support for a 3 or 2 degree change, and probably a half a degree actual change. So
Okay.
yes, there's been some slight changes. Can I point at anything that I, as a board member, or the board as a whole, has done in 2023 to change the course we're on beyond discussion? No. Has Donna taken some fantastic steps? Absolutely, and I will give her all the credit for that.
Good. The questions are flaring up, so I love it. All right. I keep my place. I keep a Word document. Wait, I try not to make sure anybody's question gets overlooked. Going back to a previous conversation, this is about the lie detector polygraph stuff. Given the threat inherent in the lie detector fiasco, how would you hope Area 3 members would react if you were to be removed from the board for an obviously BS reason. What could we do to make it clear to the board how unjust we would view any such removal?
Well, what, I don't know if that came through. Andrew's statement was elect him again. There's a section in the bylaw that if I'm removed under 7.7, I'm not eligible for 5 years. So that's not possible. Two, I think starting today, you need to make your voice heard. You know, we saw how effective all the emails and communications were to the board over the dues increase and how they rolled that back and how that was rolled back. But it took a lot of emails. You know, if you are passionate about this, be professional, be polite, but be clear that you think about it. And then I would have you talk to your fellow Area 3 residents and find another candidate to replace me that is of like mind. Because the process works. If I'm removed, then the board will appoint a committee and they will come to the section coordinators for a recommendation. So you section coordinators, and there's several on this call, you will have the power to put forth names that you like and that you think are similar in feelings. We need someone. See, this is kind of where back to the king for a day, or have a magic wand. And I'm gonna credit someone from Area 3. So this is not my original idea, but I'm not gonna throw them under the bus. But if I could go back, you know, next year will be USPSA's 40th anniversary. So if I could go back 39 years, the org would have two different boards. It would have a board drawn from the membership from competitors that help manage the rule set and manage the match and the direction of the sport. And then it would have a separate board that managed the business. And that board that managed the business would be drawn from business peoples and professionals. And they would be in charge of the financial side of the world. And they would make the decisions to keep us on budget and keep us on track financially. And then the competitor board would control the sport and control you know, how things are done with the sport. Today we have board members that come out of the sport and they may or may not have business acumen and business backgrounds. And that worked great for 35 years, 33 years, however many you want to say. But you know, and maybe this is a topic for a future conversation as I walk everybody through the published financials, and I can show you where the decline in profitability starts and how it's just it's a snowball that is rolling and getting bigger and bigger and worse and worse. And it has not been a slow change. This has been a change coming over 5 or 6 ideas, and whoever that was in the chat was very accurate. I just saw it flash up.
I figured it was.
This has not been a slow change, and unfortunately, it won't be a slow change to reverse either. And you know, I printed out the financials. I consulted with experts, and that was something that I came under fire from the other board. I consult with experts. I'm not an attorney. I know several that are fantastic attorneys that have argued before Iowa and other Supreme Courts that have helped me understand things. I've talked with attorneys with, or not attorneys, with accountants with tens, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of experience, both in nonprofit to understand and to make sure when I look at these reports, I understand what's going on and I understand what's not there in addition to what's really there. That is part of my role, and it's even defined within the confidentiality policy that I can do that, and I came under fire for that. You know, you all have seen some of the motions I've written. Um, you know, I want to make sure what I'm trying to accomplish is clear, concise, um, And sometimes you have to engage in experts to get that done.
You're smart enough to know you don't know everything.
I don't know I know less every day.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. That makes sense to be using experts. Along the lines of what we've been talking about, Tanfo Timmy had a question. What can people who may be afraid of retaliation do to make their voices heard?
Don't be afraid of retaliation.
So, I mean, like,
Don't be afraid. I mean, step aside and what's the ultimate thing? A ban, right? That's what everybody's worried about.
sure.
That's a little bit what I'm worried about. As this all polygraph fiasco comes to a head. I don't know, Joel and you and I talked about this. What would I do?
Yeah, okay, let's be real. There is, just tell me to shut up if I need to. There's a chance Scott could get banned from USPSA and not able to participate in the matches again. That's a chance that could happen. What is most of Scott's life? Obviously, he has a professional life as an investor. Other than that, a lot of your free time, you talk to people that shoot matches, you go and shoot matches, you take classes, you train, you think about shooting, you talk about shooting, you compete at matches. Like that's a big part of your life. I put a lot of words in your mouth, but I think that's all pretty fair.
I looked it up in preparation to this. I have been the match director or range master for over 600 USPSA matches in my career. My club has sent, what did we decide, Andrew, about $80,000 in activity fees to
Holy crap.
USPSA. Yeah. Yeah. We've been doing matches since 04. I think
You're coming
what was
up
it?
on a milestone for the Iowa section match. I don't remember what the
Yep.
year. What is the
This
year?
will be our 10th. This will be
Yeah.
Andrew and I's 10th Iowa section this year. So we're gonna have a big party Saturday night, and we're gonna bring back some of the most popular stages.
Osceola table times 5. Let's go.
Wow, I don't know about that.
I'm joking.
Oh, and while we're speaking about that, awards came in. Manny Bragg knocked them out of the park. They are very cool. We just got the first shipment of them today. So if you got an award from the sectional, those will be going out in the mail. We don't have them all yet, so probably end of next week they'll start going out in the mail to everybody. But they are very cool. All I can say is they've got bling and they've got lights.
Cool. I need one of those. I remember the year you guys did the belts.
Oh,
I went there to get, I'm not gonna lie, I went there to win a belt. Like I want that prize. It looks cool. I want one. I'm going there to win one.
Too expensive.
Those are pretty cool.
They were about $130 a piece.
I know, they're cool. I mean, it's sitting right next to me on the shelf.
Let's see it. Grab it. Come on
Oh,
now.
all right then.
Show it off.
Let's just have the whole thing talking about me. Oh, look at this. If you see this thing's a trophy, like why would you not want this? No, it's like, well, like the rest of my awards are like spine out on a bookcase. This one is displayed.
One of the Brown boys have one of those too.
Yes, Scott Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, my kid's
The champ this year.
national champion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just saw that. I'm like, man, that's a cool. I've never seen one of those before. I want that. So,
all right. What are the other questions?
Kevin Hartman says 15 hit factor Osceola table. That's,
Ooh.
I like the way we're thinking. Serious questions again. What is being done to prevent one unelected individual who works for the organization and therefore all its voting members from removing an elected official? So an unelected individual who works for the organization having the power to remove an elected official.
There are I'm gonna pause for a minute here while I think about how I want to answer that. Number one, I don't want to give any impression at all that there was anything untoward or any malfeasance or anything that went through in the process that we're all referring to here. I think that was handled 100% as the policy is written. I think it was an unintended consequence of the 2021 bylaw changes. Or maybe it was January of 2022. Whatever they did, the big round of bylaw changes after Foley left office. I can't say that I know of any specific change that is coming down the pipe or in the works. I know there's been a lot of talk about it. And I know the board is very aware of the perception of that. And I anticipate a change. I can't tell you what it'll be. Just because I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah.
Going back to a previous conversation, somebody agreed with my statement about people just going to matches and they don't speak up unless they have a problem. The comment was they feel a part of it that many membership just wants to come and shoot and participate that way, but they have less interest in the inner workings of what's going on outside the matches they participate. And I mean, even locally, we both at our clubs, people come, they just shoot the club matches. Maybe they don't shoot the area match. They're not interested in the politics, but it's something fun to do on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Right. And that's one of the struggles that USPSA will have to figure out. So if we think, what is USPSA's product, right? What is there to drive membership? And it's number one, it's the rule set.
Mhm.
Number two, it's the classification system.
Yep.
And number three, it's the ability to shoot level 2 and above matches.
Mhm.
Well, the rule set, you don't have to be a member to benefit from, right? Unless you want to take a range officer course or something like that. And that's one of the things I do encourage to new competitors. I said, even if you never pick up the timer, think of any game you play. Are you going to be better at it if you know the rules better? Of course you are.
Sure.
But you don't have to, we all know there's a chunk of people that come and shoot and have no interest in running a timer. They'll maybe run a device reluctantly. And sometimes you got to set fire and hit them with the cattle prod to get them to pace targets. So if you don't care about the classification system and you don't shoot level 2s, what is there right now for you? And we need to be able to better answer that question and to have a better lure to get people to join. Um, one of the solutions to our financial problems put forth by other board members is, well, we just make all these non-members who shoot our matches become members, and that that solves that adds $400,000 in revenue, and now we're fine. Well, if they wanted to be a member, they would already be a member. If you don't care about the classification system and you don't care about level 2 matches, what reason is there to you to join? I get the magazine, I read the rules section because I'm an RM and I want to make sure that I'm giving the right answer every time. Not some of the time, not most of the time, every time. So I read that every time. I read the NRI blog every time. Do I read some of the other stuff? No. For me, the match articles hold no interest. So if we could have something better, we have a local writer that puts in great grip articles. I read that one. Things like that, things to make me a better shooter, I'll read that. So we've got to figure out some way, some benefit, some draw.
We
And
have the same kind of thing with our membership at the ice.
Yep.
We solved that by making the non-ice members pay more for USPSA match.
Yeah.
You can kind of half hear what Andrew's saying if you want to repeat it.
So, Andrew drew the analogy that we do at our local range, where if you're a member of our range, your match fee is reduced. IDP, I think, went through a thing where they require, and I don't quote me, I'm a member there, and I shoot the matches occasionally, but I don't know the ins and outs. They kind of went through a thing where you had, at one point, they were speculating requiring membership to shoot level 1s, our equivalent of level 1s. I know if I put on my match director hat and I was told you can't let someone shoot the match without being a member, I'm going to have a real problem with that because right now you're taking money out of my pocket, and you're making my match less profitable. And a lot of times, I may not, there may not be a lot of room for me to be less profitable. I think that's a separate conversation. One of the things that I want to do for 2024 is to do a series of short videos that I post somewhere of things that I've learned in almost 20 years of running matches. Break down how I calculate cost per competitor and how I price my matches. I think things like that are something that I can do to help new clubs be successful, because a lot of people, I think, don't necessarily, either they don't have the business background or just don't know how to price things. And I've said this to some match directors when they're like, well, what do you do when your match fills in 5 minutes? I said, well, if it's a local match, raise prices. We live in a supply and demand world, and that's an answer that's not necessarily very popular sometimes.
Yeah, there were a couple comments in the question kind of echoing what you were saying. Tanfo Timmy, good point. Mandating membership would create a lot of outlaw matches.
Yeah.
And then someone else, limiting level ones to Matthew, limiting level ones to members would just make the barrier to entry into the sport even more difficult to overcome. Which, I mean, I agree with those.
I thought was good for conversation.
Yeah. And let's be honest, we need to recognize, and this is something that I've talked with other board members and Donna about 2024. Think about our economy for a minute, right? Credit card balances are at the highest level since 2008. On average, 20,000 car repossessions are done a day. One of the top 5 Google searches right now is car surrenders.
Wow, I didn't know that.
People are having problems. The general person are starting to have problems. Credit card balances are coming up. We're coming into the holiday season. Black Friday sales were already down. I think a lot of indicators are pointing towards an economic slowdown. And let's be honest, USPSA, if you have a family, whether you have 1 kid, 2 kids, or you're really crazy and have 10 kids, the ammo budget and your match budget as a father or a mother that's a competitor, it's one of the first things to go, right? The kids are going to come first. The house bills are going to come first. When we first were talking about budget for 2023, I was very much against uh, um, building in any profit increase. And I think for 2024, as we start our budget process, it should be the same. We should assume a flat revenue growth and be happy if we have some. As it is, I mean, we would have to grow to outpace our spending track. We would have to grow, 40%. That's a huge number. I mean, we've got 30 some people on the call here. Raise your hand if you got a 30% raise anytime in your life without changing jobs.
Well, and I'm not sure if you've heard, there's a little bit of an issue going on right now with
Aaron.
Israel, and a little bit of an issue, a little scuffle that happened in Ukraine. So that always affects ammo prices also.
Well,
which,
and then
if you don't stock up on ammo,
and then we can't. The Lake City extras can no longer be sold. So AR ammo doubled. So
I mean, we pay for that at some point anyway.
Yeah, it's and primers are still so expensive. It's almost too expensive to load.
It makes a lot of sense. Rambling now, but for new shooters, it makes a lot of sense just to buy factory ammo. Like Blazer Brass, the 115 and 124 is a good value. It's pretty inexpensive if you look online, and that way you don't, if you don't have a reloading setup now, I think buying factory ammo makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
One other thing to quickly throw my own 2 cents in about the one of the benefits USPSA has, I think the membership or the classifier system is huge, because I'm projecting me, like if I tell somebody I'm a USPSA GM, that means something. In a lot of circles, that's a big deal. If you told me, again, not my market, but if you said I'm an IDPA sharpshooter, I don't know what that is. And if you say that means I'm M class or I'm GM in USPSA. Okay, got it. But a lot of people, like, the USPSA classification system means something. And like to the right people, for sure it does. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine within the last couple of months. He's like, you know what, the finances stuff going on, should I let my membership lapse? I'm like, hey man, like, look at your classification. You've got a AM, GM, you know, whatever, fill in the blank. I'm like, you've got that. Just pay your $35 at the time to keep that, because that means something, that you earned that, you know? I'm not saying the person couldn't earn it again, but the classification system is worth something, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I agree. And that's a product that has been refined over the years and still needs to have some more refinement.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it means something, and to people outside of USPSA.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, last budget question, I think. Oh boy. They found the March minutes, and it states, Board of Directors affirms that the managing director has the authority over financial controls and control spending. That was a quote. So is it fair to say that based on that affirmation, the bottom line spending, deficit or surplus, lies with the managing director? And I can repeat that if you want me to. That was a lot.
No. I was there when that was put in. I I think the minutes speak for themselves.
Okay. Another question regarding finances. In regard to the finances, are there any plans in place currently to have financials available sooner than the beginning of 2024 versus when they're released this year? And if there's not a reason these get released late in the year as they do. So asking why the financials get released late in the year, and if there's a plan in place to have previous years available for members.
So on the USPSA website, the audited financials are available, I believe, up through 2022 for any member to download. And so I think those go clear back to 15 or 16. As far as more timely financials, I'd love to release them monthly as part of the minutes. Right now, I'm in the minority of that opinion. And are there plans for it? There's a lot of talk, but I've seen nothing concrete. And I would say with the current makeup, there won't be a change for that.
Okay. That was the last question on my list. If anyone in the chat or anyone in the meeting has questions they want to answer, or Scott, if you want to allow people to raise their hands, it's up to you.
Yeah, feel free. Raise your hands. Andrew will turn your mic on and we'll have some Q&A. We've got plenty of time.
Don't everyone do it at once.
I think they've been doing a good job of dropping on the chat.
Yeah. No, I've been trying to keep a good eye on the chat and keep up with Byron has a very good comment. He said USPSA has community as a selling point. And I agree, is that maybe to put words in his mouth, but the local club, just the friends, the environment, the dynamic that happens to the local club. To me, that's the magic part of USPSA.
And that is 100% correct. That is one of the things that drew me to the shooting community 20 some years ago and keeps me there is that community. I mean, think about it. We all go to matches, and we think nothing of leaving bags laying around with thousands of dollars of guns, because we know no one's going to walk away with them. We know
Sure.
that these are all, for the most part, are all good people. Do we all have our quirks and eccentricities? Sure. Just the other day, I was thinking of Tangfo Timmy as I saw one of the bin stickers that I think would be hilarious to see in every porta potty everywhere. But I probably shouldn't say that as an area director, but
You should not. It
I
sounds like
still
you're
think it would be funny.
encouraging graffiti from an area
Yeah.
director.
Yeah.
Property vandalization plus Ben in that awful haircut. It's just, oh my
Oh
goodness.
my gosh, that sticker is hilarious. I don't know who I saw posted it on social media, but that's awesome.
I think it was somebody that took a class, took that photo, and then created stickers out of it, I think.
Yeah.
Could verify. But yeah, apparently that was part of the Pro Shops Black Friday haul. I think you got a sticker when you made a
Nice.
purchase. There's a few questions here. Kevin Collins said, just want to say thanks to Scott for holding this call. Look forward to more. So I agree. I'd like to see this happen more. There's a few more questions trickling in. Could you see level 2 matches count towards a classifier? For example, the Minnesota section be a classifier.
I believe the match director just has to request that. I can double check on that. If one of you guys, if one Andrew or Joel can grab that guy's name, I'll follow up with him and send him an email. I believe that that when the results are submitted, that's an option from the match director to have those. It used to be there had to be so many GMs and everything, and that could be it. I've just been around the sport so long that I don't want to give an answer that may not be correct. I'll do some research and I'll follow up with that person to go through the exact process. I mean, obviously, the easiest way is to just throw a classifier in the match, a classifier stage.
I think he's talking about the total match, and I could be speaking incorrectly, but I thought it was 3 GMs that all score higher than 90 or 95%.
Yeah.
Then their overall finish counts towards a classifier because the 3 GMs are setting a pace or a precedence, I think.
Yeah, I will research that because I've gotten that question before, and I'm sure Andrew or Joel has that answer, and I'll figure out it is, and we'll make sure that that gets out there. But I know that the match director can do it, and I know that the even easier way is to include a classifier in the match.
But even then, you just have the classifier and not the overall percentage of the match. So I get he did clarify with this question.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And some of it has to, you have to have enough people. That's a question I get a lot. Where do you stand on eliminating divisions? Boy, that's a tough question. I've learned a lot in talking with Frank. In his section, more than half the states have a capacity restriction, and we don't really have consistent enforcement of, what is it, 3-3, I think is the rule, where if your state has a magazine restriction, then all divisions are restricted to that.
Yes.
Too many of the states have if thens, therefores, grandfathers, and so that's being used as a way to get around that. And so limited 10 allows those, I guess, for that one iron-sided division, for them to travel out and still shoot the same way they've shot at home. I see that. And I guess I fall back on my experience as a match director and say, well, what I do for the sectional example, if I have 3 people that sign up for limited 10, I send them an email a week before the match and I say, hey, there's only 3 of you. You're not going to get a plaque. You're not going to get anything. You're welcome to shoot the match. You're welcome to have a great time. You're welcome to enjoy the challenges you want to impose upon yourself. But just to be clear, there's nothing that we're going to do for you as recognition. And most of the time, those people change divisions. A lot of them, a couple of them have replied in the past and have said, "Oh, I didn't know I was only one of 3. I don't want a participation award. Thank you. I'm going to change divisions." And I'll be honest, that's I used to be a production guy. I made my master in production. I shoot carry optics now because that's where all the competition is.
Me too, dude.
I don't want a participation trophy. I'd rather have my face pushed in the dirt and as a stimulus to try harder and get better than to win 1 out of 3.
There was well, now I sound like a salesman, but one USPSA selling point I want to just talk on also. To me, it's a cool thing about USPSA when you talk about the rule set. To elaborate, I can go anywhere in the country. I visited friends that are 12 hours from me. He's like, let's go shoot a local USPSA match. Like, cool. I already know what gear
to expect.
I already know how to behave. I already know what's going to be expected of me. Like, it's 12 states away, it's 12 hours away, never been to the club, and I already know exactly how it's going to work, what's expected of me, how I'm going to get disqualified. Like, I know it all. And like, that is the selling point of USPSA to me, or one of them. I like that. But along those lines, there's a question that was in the chat. It's Scott, are you feeling optimistic generally about the future of USPSA? I'm pretty new to the sport, just over 1 year, and it feels a lot like the board is intent in moving the wrong direction. It makes it tough for me to wholeheartedly encourage friends to give it a try.
Yes, I'm optimistic. The light at the end of the tunnel is not the train. We still have several years to change the course we're on. I have a couple requests coming out of this meeting. Number one, keep the faith, keep shooting matches, keep having fun, keep enjoying time with your friends. Two, make your voice be heard. Email the board. Be professional, be respectful. And then I have a couple other requests specific to Area 3. I need a Sage design team. If you're interested in that, email me area3@uspsa.org. I've got some ideas for some big changes this year that I want to kind of change and make Area 3 unique, special spectacle. And something that everyone talks about, and hopefully we grow the match. I think at its biggest we were close to 400. I'd like to get back there. No pool noodles, never again.
Kevin, sorry, I'll
Yeah,
start saying last names.
Kevin.
Kevin Hartman, timely joke. I was getting ready to ask you, Scott, or put you on the spot. In the past, Area 3 was all 32 round stages, all full targets, no shoot. I mean, it was kind of the same for all the match.
Yep.
Making another change, if I could put you on the spot next year for size of the stage size, short, medium, long course. If you want to talk about that.
Yep. My goal for this coming year is 11 stops, 6 short courses, 4 okay, so 6 short courses. The remaining 8 will be a mix of long and medium. So the short courses will be doubled up. And so logistically, I'll have to make sure I spread those out and work on some timing. But we'll be able to get 14 stages in the same amount of time. As a match director, I feel that more is not always better. We all like big round count, but this is a shooting sport, not CrossFit with guns. And while we cannot take the athleticism completely out of the sport, I think we need to focus on gun handling skills, marksmanship, and have less of the craziness.
Well, I also like Scott. I remember, it's been 5 years ago, probably. You had a stage, the Iowa section, where it was like maybe 5 or 6 poppers and then a couple activators.
Yep.
And the plan, like you have choices. The poppers have activators, and there's these targets that are gonna be, I think they were non-disappearing, but you had choices to make. It was, do you want to maybe engage one of the activators, maybe both, maybe none, and that. If you had a knowledge of the scoring, how long you think it would take, how many points you'd earn both ways, there was a little bit of calculation you could do to decide your strategy. And I liked that.
Right. If I had to pick a theme for this year, the theme would be, do you know what your shooting skill is? And are you willing to govern your speed to shoot within your skill level? I want to give you opportunity to push the envelope of your skill, and hopefully, occasionally we'll have stages where we hook up and everything goes great, and it's like, wow, that was cool. And then we'll have stages where, oh, what a mess. I got all the bullets on the target, but man, it took me a whole lot longer than it should have. I don't think it's fun to throw the 50-yard zebra. Sure, that's a shooting challenge, but that's unnecessarily punitive. So somewhere to give you enough rope that as a shooter, you feel you can do it if you take enough time, no matter what your skill level is. And the really good competitors, they'll just do it really fast.
Yeah, there were a couple or one question, Scott. In case I don't know if the chat will show up. Would you just list your email address so people can get a hold of you? Because you are not area 3 at USPSA. Isn't it first dot last?
No, that
Missed the-
works.
Okay, it
That
does.
that works. And then also scott.arnberg@uspsa.org. The area 3 one does forward through.
Okay,
Yep, I get those.
misspoke then. Okay. Perfect. So that way, if you want to get a hold of, and I assume you'd rather be engaged that way compared to social media, or do you have a preference?
I prefer email.
You could track it.
Normally, if yeah, I can track it. And yeah. And
All
then
makes
my personal email also works too. I'll put that in there.
Such a nice guy.
Well, yeah. My USPSA email goes to my personal email also, so that's what you'll see. A lot of the responses come from.
So Scott's personal emails the chat also. Scott, there was a question. Can you give us some general impressions on how the board is feeling towards limited optics? Should we expect it to stick around? Any changes to increase, or differentiate it versus carry optics?
One, it's very popular. I believe it's already surpassed the activity requirements set when it was done as a provisional division. So my pure speculation is that it will become a real division. No, I have not heard of anything to distinguish it more. Putting on my Scott the competitor hat, I would, Matthew's not wrong, on saving Ironsight Nationals.
Makes me sad.
I would love to see more of a distinction between limited optics and carry optics. And the way to drive that is for you to reach out to the board. What an example would be if it's truly a carry optics division. I don't know a lot of people that carry a 45 or 50 ounce gun in their pants every day. Maybe back to the 35 ounce limit, and let the heavy guns play together and let the light guns play together. But that's just me, Scott Ernberg, the competitor of 20 years. I've seen nothing from a board on that. In fact, I think historically, if we look at USPSA rolling back changes in divisions, I can't remember it hardly ever happening. Yeah, Kevin's shaking his head. Yeah, he's been around even longer than I have.
Well, it's also tough because competitors, if they buy gear or equipment to shoot a division, it's tough to change that. You're kind of doing people a disservice if they've already bought I'll use revolver. Like, yeah, there's not a lot of participation in revolver, but if you bought a revolver and we smoke the division, you really have nothing to do with that. I mean, shoot it for plinking, but it'd be an open division.
And revolver is a great example. I used to shoot revolver, and I had I went out and bought the two Smith & Wesson 625s, and I paid money to have trigger jobs done. I had all the gear, and then they changed it to 8-shot minor, and all of a sudden, all my gear was no longer competitive.
Yeah.
And what did I do? I sold it all, and I don't own the only revolver I own is a 22. And I'll just never go back to that division. And so, that's the danger we run if we change these divisions a lot, that, you just turn some people away. But at the same time, we need to change. Carry optics is a shining example of why the divisions need to continue to evolve with firearms, changes in the industry and technology.
When carry optics came out, I mean, it was welfare optics. It was
welfare open.
Welfare open.
Yep.
But
and then I think I saw a question about limited optics moving to major power factor.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen any significant push for that. Boy, I tell you what, just minor guns. Harbor Freight open, nice. Minor guns are hard on dots. I can't imagine what the 40 Smith and Wesson recoil impulse would do to dots. If any of you have experience with that, you'll let me know. I can't imagine it would be good.
40's hard on guns.
Yeah,
Just
I know we've got a local guy that I think the SIG Romeo Maxes, the return person there has him on by first name basis. He sends 5 back at a time.
I'm very confident I know who that person is.
Yeah. Well, and the thing with major, I mean, if you're shooting 40 now, for the people I talk to that shoot limited and shoot 40 now, brass is getting harder and harder and harder to come by.
Mhm.
A lot of the police forces are abandoning 40, and pretty soon it's going to be like shooting 38 super comp. Either you just have the money to just keep buying brand new Starline, or rather than looking at your hits, you're running around picking up your brass after every stage.
We have a couple of those. I make sure to ridicule them and point out to everyone their behavior. Get this person picking up their brass off the range.
I remember one of my early matches I shot over in Lowell, Iowa. There was a guy shooting 10 millimeter open, and he was very intent on getting his brass back.
Sure.
Yeah. It was cool. It was the biggest fireballs I ever seen. I thought I was a pretty new competitor. I just thought that was neat.
Yep. That's through all my questions, or the questions I have. Anybody, if your question was missed, feel free to drop it in the chat. If you want to talk, raise your hand or let Andrew know if you have questions or anything else to say.
So we've already doubled the time spent at the last members meeting at nationals. Not quite. We got another 9 minutes.
This is true. Well, I mean, we talked. Let's be real, Scott. You set this out when you first told me this. You're like, hey, you offered me, which I was like, oh, I'd love to. The honor is mine to moderate this. I was like, 3 hours. I don't know if it's going to go that long, but you intentionally did this. The Zoom account is set up to hold more people than we thought we'd have, and you set the meeting to go longer than we expected it to go, just because as many people that want to engage they can, and people can talk as long as they want to talk.
Yeah, I was elected by the Area 3 members, but I serve all the membership, and so we need to make sure we're available. And it's hard. We all have lives and jobs. I'm very fortunate. I'm at a point in my career. Been in the same place for a long time. I'm a business owner. I get to set my own schedule to a certain extent, and I have a understanding wife who allows me to do a lot of what I want anytime I want. So I've been very fortunate. I've been very blessed.
Wendy is a very understanding lady.
I thought I saw a couple more questions.
One was, can you push for the same openness with board meetings?
Brian, I'd love to have more openness with board meetings. Several of the other board members have talked about live streaming. I know USPSA has the technology to do that. Part of me thinks that's a double-edged sword, right? Because you will have, and this accusation has already been made about me, that I do things to grandstand and to play towards my members. That's not the case. Every decision and every motion I make is with the best interest of USPSA at heart. Have I gotten them all right? Nope. Am I still going to try to do the best I can? Yep. Do I think they'll ever be live streamed? My only fear with that is, will we have board members that are afraid to speak their mind because of ramifications they may see? And if that's ever the case, then the board is diminished. A board, we have 9 people on this board. I think it should be rare that we all agree on something.
I agree.
Everyone should be able to vote their conscience without fear of reprisal. Is it that way? I don't know. Sometimes, some subjects, all of them, no. Has it held me back? I'd like to say no, but there are some votes that I'd like to take back.
Probably sharing too much. I mean, Scott, you told me as a friend, you've lost sleep before over meetings, decisions, interactions.
Yeah.
I'm
pretty
sure.
wound
Sorry,
up.
I apologize if I'm sharing too much, but
I'm pretty wound up after board meetings. I usually don't sleep for, oh, it was at least one after this last one on Monday. And there have been some, I've been in board meetings where I've seen someone, I'm getting an echo.
That's me. I was gonna say something, so.
So I've been in board meetings, in-person board meetings, where I've thought we would have to separate people because they were going to come to blows. And there's been questions asked about when I was removed from the finance committee, and I will have to say that was the worst experience I have ever had as a board member with any organization with over 20 years experience on nonprofit boards. I had to appeal to the president multiple times to curtail the personal attacks that came out of that meeting. I almost quit after that. And I'll be honest, the only reason I didn't quit is that was the demand that was made to me over and over and over again. I will not quit. I was elected here to do a job. I believe that you all put faith in me to help get us going the right direction. And I'm going to stay until either you elect someone else or they make me leave.
so when you say the demand of you, you're saying people are asking you in the meeting to resign.
Yes, multiple times.
I'm assuming I'll be the last question. I'm assuming this has happened on more than one board meeting.
That one for sure, when I was removed from the finance committee. Were there other ones? Maybe. I don't remember. That's the one that sat with me, and that's the one where I ended up talking to a good friend on the phone for several hours after that meeting, just to wind down. I had to sit out on my deck and smoke a couple cigars. It was a rough one.
I want to say for anybody that has any doubts about what your area director goes through, know that I'm right down the hall from him. Now, bear in mind, he doesn't tell me anything that he's not supposed to, but I watch this guy toil for several months on a fairly regular basis, and I can tell that it's taking a toll on him. His hair gets a little grayer every time I see him when he's, especially on the days after a board meeting. So he's got his heart in the right place. He's trying to do what he thinks is right for you guys. So thank you, Scott.
I agree. Well, it's tough to follow those questions. There are a few more questions. We'll give you a break from that. Change the tone for a second. So there's a question: when USPSA is in a better financial situation, do you think you could see USPSA giving financial help to clubs to build new bays, new equipment, etc.?
That's a hard question. If
Well, devil's advocate.
before I would be able to answer that, I would have to have some sort of concrete data on how many clubs fail. USPSA only has so many dollars. In an ideal world, yes, we would have money for that. What I can do today is help to mentor and answer questions and help on the business side. And I touched on this earlier. It's one of my personal challenges to start doing some short videos and guides and things I can do to help clubs be successful. what I can do today is, my email and phone number is out there in this community all over. If you're a match director and you're struggling, call me. Um, I'm not saying I have every answer, but man, I've been doing this for a long time. I'll help as much as I can. Um, my personal goals, if we were profitable next year, my personal goals, I would like to see more funding for the pistol world shoot teams. I think it's important for Americans to go overseas and kick butt. And I think to have some money to put into that as an organization would be fantastic. The next thing I would like to see is some more ways to support matches. Um, uh, I don't personally like, as a board member, I don't like how the area match financials are handled. I think Andrew did a fantastic job this year, and we set the bar pretty high for clarity and completeness of financials.
If I could ask you to elaborate, Scott, that's because each area director does, and maybe it's another conversation, but they do their own financials. So it's not ran by corporate. It's you and Andrew have the money, you divvy it out, and you decided to do the profit and loss statement
Correct.
for members, but that came from you and Andrew. Am I summarizing that fairly?
Correct. So according to, it's defined in the bylaws that it's the area director's responsibility to make sure the match is run. And it leaves that pretty open to interpretation. Some area directors farm that out, and basically contract with someone to run the match, and some area directors like me get hands on and do it. One of the things that I instituted from the onset with Area 3 was Andrew. If you see his title in the thing, he's not only moderator of the call, but he's the Area 3 treasurer. So as area director, I was the match director, but I didn't have direct access to any of the money. I wanted to have that separate person to be in charge of it so that every penny was accounted for, every receipt is scanned, and we know where every dime went. Um, and I'm hoping that by that example, that will carry on. There is a requirement that the financials have to be reported to HQ. I had asked to present the Area 3 financials to the board, and that request was denied. I did end up emailing the reports to the board. I have been told that other area financials have been submitted, but I personally have not seen them. So, what I would like to see, I asked why the area matches are not run through HQ, create a separate checking account, and have HQ do the accounting for it. And I was told that, well, by doing it this way, there's an arm's length transaction, so that if someone gets hurt at a match, the org won't be sued. Well, that's just not the case. We all know that's not the case. I'm an area director. I'm a director of USPSA. If someone gets hurt at the area match, they're going to sue all the way up the chain. And so that's not really a valid reason. So ideally, I'd like to see going forward, all the area financials are run through HQ. The advantage of this is, some of the other areas have formed nonprofit entities. If you have greater than $50,000 in revenue, and that's gross revenue, not net revenue, then you have to file a long form 990. And a long form 990 will cost you anywhere between $1,200 and $1,500 in CPA fees to file that form. Well, USPSA has to file that anyway. So to add, 9 more bank accounts and, even another $1 million in revenue in and out, their 990 isn't going to cost them any more money. Area 3 this year bought an insurance policy that had 2 million in coverage. The major match staff, range masters, match treasurers, match director were named insured, and then all the staff were insured. That cost us like $500. Wow, talk about cheap insurance. So we could have that for the areas, and even factoring in the insurance policy, you're still saving each match $1,000. That's a lot of money.
Sure, it's a lot of
So
prizes.
I'm not sure why they don't do it that way. And some things that I've learned, and again, talking to experts, one of the things we did at Area 3 that all major matches should be doing is you have to account the value of the prizes that are donated to you into your income, and you have an offsetting expense. Well, you start doing that, and a lot of your level twos are now going to need to have long form 990s. And let's be real. Is the IRS going to go after small nonprofits? Nope. There's no money to get there. But are you doing it wrong? And are you opening your nonprofit org to audit? You sure are. And the struggle there is an audit like that. I'm no expert. I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving legal advice, but an audit that calls into question the nonprofit status has the potential, from what I've been advised, to pierce corporate veils and hold board members personally liable, um, just because we're not keeping track of it. And one of the things we got out of Area 3 this year, we had one of our sponsors contact us and say, hey, who got our prizes and do you have pictures? And for us to be able to, Joel was able to fill out the form and reply with pictures of people with their product and their banners. And the
They actually really
turnaround on
liked
that,
it.
they
Yeah,
really liked it. And that's one of the things we're going to do next year, is we're going to have to do a little better tracking. Things like that I've learned, um, being a match director, that can trip up new matches, especially as they bridge the gap from running level ones and local matches and start running level twos and above, where you're talking about thousands of dollars running through. If you run a good match, and have good connections with the industry, it's not hard to hit 50,000 between your match revenue and your prize table. It's not hard. You'll get there quick. I'm sure Timmy's found that out. I would be surprised if some of the stuff he's got coming isn't going to hit that really quick. So,
I agree. There are a few more questions waiting for you. How much pressure do you get to vote with the majority since most outcomes are unanimous? Let's talk about voting. I assume at the BOD meetings.
can you repeat that again? I'm sorry.
Sure. At the board meetings, how much pressure do you get to vote with the majority since most outcomes are unanimous?
It depends on the topic. But I can recall multiple instances where the statement has been made by one person or another that I really want this to be a unanimous vote. And I just cringe inside when I hear that, because it's, first off, I have to immediately quench my desire to absolutely vote against vote against it for no other reason than sometimes I have that anti-authoritative streak. And then I have to rein myself in again and say, okay, am I wanting to vote against this because I really think it's wrong, or am I wanting to vote against this just because someone is driving the bus towards unanimous vote? Um, so
I agree with you. And well, I'll talk about myself a little bit. I'm on the board, like I said, of my gun club. There's a lot of times we're on polar opposites between the board. Could not have any opposite. Like we couldn't be any farther apart in viewpoints. And I think that's very healthy because you get a lot of different perspectives. Again, they're not necessarily like yelling and screaming and people getting ready to punch each other, but having very, very different ideas of how to do things, how business should be conducted, where we should go, how things should be handled, fill in the blank. That's really, really healthy. And I like that. So,
right, that's part of a healthy board.
Mhm.
That's the advantage of a board, is you should be drawing from multiple life experiences, and when you combine that all together, you're better.
Absolutely.
But then that ties in my desire for term limits. There needs to be a limit.
Mhm.
We can get political for a minute, and I think that's part of the problem with our current political system is we don't want lifelong board members. We want people who want to come and do the job and then move on. I want to come and I want to do the job, but I'm not going to be a 3 or 4 term board member. I'm just not. Um, this term for sure. If this were election day decision for me, if this current makeup was going to stay the same, I would say there's no way. But there are some key elections coming up, and I hope our members in other areas vote.
Mhm.
And I hope they're informed voters.
Yeah, true. Not just based on personality or popularity. It's like, what are the issues? What does each person represent? So, absolutely. There was a question. I'm going to summarize a little bit, but the gist of it is, if the meeting minutes were complete, minus executive session, would there still be a concern for board members? So basically, the question is, are the meeting minutes abbreviated to a point to push an agenda, or is there a reason that the meeting minutes are sometimes vague?
I think
I
the
realize this
biggest reason that
might be difficult for you to answer.
well, I think the biggest reason the minutes are vague is how it's always been done. And just because something's always been done that way doesn't mean it's right. I know Donna is either has completed or is taking a class to help her better understand the different forms of minute taking, and she spoke a little bit about this pre-meeting, so before the meeting was called to order. And I think she's got some great ideas, and I hope we can hopefully see some change. I thought it was interesting. Ted forwarded on the minutes from the the last IPSC Grand Assembly, and I want to say they were like 6 or 8 pages long. There was a lot in there. There were multiple paragraph long statements from the president and different committees. And there was a surprising amount of detail. And I remember it took me several minutes to really get through and read it all and try to understand what was going on. And it was quite enlightening. I'll admit I am an IPSC neophyte. So it was really interesting to see kind of the contrast between what I saw from the IPSC minutes and what we see routinely from USPSA.
There was a couple comments about Yeeman asking if he was going to join.
He
Scott,
had
I look.
said he was going to, but he's flying. And I had sent him the link. He was going to try. It depended on his internet connection in the airport. I know he wanted to be here. He was invited.
That would be excellent to have him. Although airports do get a bit noisy, so I can see this being a logistical issue.
Yeah, he was working, I believe, the big IPSC match that was down in Florida. And boy, that staff, they all need a pat on the back.
Felt bad for
They
them.
got
All the standing water, yeah, poured
well,
on.
they got like 12 inches of rain over 2 days, and one of the days was they were shooting in. They got like 6 inches of rain that day.
Yeah, it was on, I think, the Thursday.
Yeah.
Saw
Oh
videos, just
gosh.
a total downpour.
Yeah, that's a lot. But
Yes.
it sounds like that the match staff there did a great job. So
I mean, I'm a wimp, let's be real, but I can't imagine being Thursday, getting downpoured on, knowing I have 3 more days. Be like, man, just get this over. Just put me out of my misery. Like, that's very difficult to work that. So
oh well, we had monsoon match at Iowa before.
I remember that. Dude, I was so lucky. I shot on Sunday. That was the best day.
It was the best day. We built in the rain. That was brutal. But I'll trade rain for the heat you guys get in Omaha, man.
I'll take the heat. Well, I remember getting to the match. We were walking the stage on Saturday, and you and Andrew have like pickup trucks and trailers full of mulch you're putting down.
40 tons. That's what we put down.
Holy
And it's
fuck.
all gone.
Yeah.
It's all somewhere in the dirt. It was, yeah, that was crazy. So there was
A
I
question
see a couple
about,
more questions.
yep, there was one that said you mentioned individual or personal board member liability at the local level. Can USPSA provide any assistance with covering that?
Sure. So Brian, the first step is going to be your local range should have a policy. And if you need a source for that, again, email me. I've helped several ranges find insurance companies that will write liability policies on ranges. And then the next step up, USPSA does carry a liability policy, but it's really for the employees and staff. So for instance, if my understanding, and again, I'm not an insurance expert, but if you were at a match and someone was hurt and you were deemed negligent for some reason, I mean, at some point your homeowners or if you had an umbrella liability policy would get in on that. In addition to the range policy, because I mean, let's be honest, they're going to sue everybody.
Mhm.
And I have helped through this. We had an incident at our range involving a machine gun vendor and an injury. And so, it kind of everyone gets drug into it. But ultimately, the insurance company is there. That's why ranges have liability policies.
Makes sense. Byron asked a question that we kind of talked about briefly earlier, or I guess at length earlier. His question is, do you think USPSA should be helping clubs that are starting up with steel target stands and basically infrastructure? And I guess we more or less talked about that. What I guess the other part that's worth talking about it is like, how do you decide who gets it and who doesn't get it? Like, how much money, how much capital does the club have? How many members do they have?
Yep.
What's the
Yep.
likely ROI going to be? Is it a non-interest loan that they have to repay to HQ? It's like it'd be really tough to administer that.
Yeah. And that's part of you as a new club, I think once you run 4 classifiers, you can get a discounted RO class. We here in Iowa, we're my club hosts partners with Crossroads, the indoor range, to host we've got one coming up in January. It's great to do it at the indoor range where you're not burning a weekend where we could be out really, having fun.
Mhm.
It's kind of the chicken before the egg question. Right now, USPSA doesn't have any money to help the clubs. All I can do is try to be that mentor and that guide, or that person to guide and answer questions. I don't anticipate that financial change coming maybe in 25. So in an ideal world, yeah, we'd have money to throw around and give out. But right now we just don't. And we're trying to find other ways to help because really we can't survive without the clubs, and some clubs can't survive without us. And so that's why, when I see these clubs disaffiliating and people calling to do hit factor matches or things like that. We could take some of that, but I've got to ask you for a while to keep the faith, and realize that there are for the most part, I think all the board members mean well. We definitely don't see eye to eye. But I don't think there's actually, I'm going to be more forceful with this. There is no one on the board right now that wants to destroy the sport. There is no one that wants USPSA to go away. Do the 8 or 9 of us have different ideas of what USPSA should look like? Yeah, but that's part of being a board. But no one, and I see zero. I don't have any inkling that there's anything untoward or theft or malfeasance with the finances. I don't see anything that would indicate that. And and I've looked, and I'd have other experts review the publicly available financials, and we agree that there's no indication of anything untoward going on.
One thing, Scott, maybe use the podcast, or might as well make myself money off it, but doing maybe podcasts about, or if it videos, whatever, about just your match management. One thing I admire of, like, most, just looking at your club for the first time, was how staff, and I realize I'm patting on the back, but it's true, like all the staff rows in the same direction, and you have kind of everything choreographed where you know how long each, like, I could tell you these numbers, I'm sure you on top of your head, how long a competitor is going to take to, you're grinning, like how long does it take the average person for a speed shoot? How long does it take if there's an activator? If you have steel down range, making the long walk, how long is this going to take? How many ROs should be on the stage? What are the ROs going to need for breaks? If you have a slowdown, how do you alleviate the slowdown and get people back on? I mean, this is all stuff you've done over your 10 years.
Yep.
And maybe it's a non-financial, but maybe having a resource such as that, whether it's a podcast I put on my platform or whatever, would be helpful also for just running
I'd love to
efficient
do that.
matches.
And
we did do one podcast like that a while ago. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
And to answer that question, one of the things I do on staff day is I sit in the back of the bay with a stopwatch, and I time how long it takes the staff to turn individual stages that I have questions on. And other stages, a lot of pretty much every stage at a sectional that I run has been test driven in some form or another in our club matches. And I'll do the same thing. I'll take a stopwatch out there and I will time how long it takes to turn it over. And then I fudge that number by up or down by 10 to 15% by how motivated I think the squad is in turning the stage over. If we've got we've all had the squad where you've got 12 people on the squad and you look at and you go, yep, those 4 people are dead spots because they're going to do nothing but shoot and talk.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll fudge that.
I agree. Like I said, you've got it down to a science. I appreciate that. Well, and also, you're good at, I've noticed this where you'll watch somebody run the timer. You're not like, hey, look, this boy's about to have himself an experience where you go like light somebody up. You're pretty good at coaching your staff. Where like I said, they all row in the same direction, but that obviously didn't happen overnight. And I know a lot of the people at your club, there's disagreements that happens, the personality stuff like that happens. But you've been really good about cultivating that culture you have at your club and having all the ROs, like I said, up to speed, range commands, working together. You can stick any of them with any other guys. Like that obviously took work. So that is something that, although it's not a dollar amount, I think that would be a value to other clubs just for running smooth matches.
Yeah, I've been working on an outline for that, and we'll expect something in the first half of next year.
Perfect. Kevin Hartman already said sign him up. It's very nerdy and he likes it. So
I'm a numbers guy by heart. So I see a thing from Mason here about discount codes. Mason, discount codes are super hard for retailers to track an ROI on. You give too big a code, and actually let's step back. So putting on my business owner hat here for a second, I offer up a discount code. Sure, I can track it to the specific source, but how do I track beyond the initial few orders whether that was really advantageous to it? And how does USPSA sell that to that business? Let's be honest, as of right now, there are 39,578 USPSA members. That is a drop in the bucket to the shooting community. So I mean, I think Staccato is a great example of that. How many open guns did they sell now?
A lot.
None.
Well, no, they have ported limited minor or open minor. They have ported guns.
They have carry optics gun with
ports
on them.
Comps,
right?
Yeah.
They have gone away from the competitive market because let's be honest, we're hard on guns.
Yeah.
Right. We shoot them too much. Someone got told that. Who told Brett? Told somebody that, right? Anyway.
Beretta did, yes.
So now, but they go to the to the tactical market where you've got people that shoot 3 boxes of factory ammo a year, and they buy 4, 5, 6, 7 of those guns. It's a way more profitable market. So, discount codes would be great. I just have a hard time pushing super hard for them when I put my business owner hat on and say, how does this make me any money, and how does this allow me to be a businessman next year,
Well, I mean,
and the year after that, and the year after that?
like you said, we're hard on stuff. Like I have Tanfolios I've shot so much the slides are cracked. Like I'm not going to send it into warranty, even if they would do anything. But like got 4 guns. They've been shot a lot. And I had a friend that worked for CZUSA, and we were talking. He's like, what percentage of Shadow 2s that we'd consider to be a competition gun go to USPSA matches? And the answer is probably like 1 or 2%.
Yeah.
Because it's a nice gun. It's a heavy gun. It's got a light trigger. So
I think if you talk to some of the optic vendors, the average number of rounds on a lot of their red dot optics, like like an SRO or even a lot of the Holosons, is probably like 400 or 500 rounds in its life.
sure.
Because we all know the person that has the red dot sight that shoots 4 boxes in their lifetime, and it sits in the safe the rest of the time. So anyway, a little off topic.
No.
What's being done to Brian sent? So what's being done to overcome the financial shortcomings and that are holding the org back? We covered this earlier, but touch on it again, Brian. I can't point at anything that the board has done in my tenure to significantly change the financial direction the org is on. And I'm sorry, I'm working. That is something that is my focus going forward. Um, to reiterate what I said earlier, there has been some support for that, but not a ton. I know Donna has made some big swings, and I want to credit her with that. But again, keep the faith. It's not over yet.
Perfect. Other than that, I think we're caught up with questions. Does anyone else have?
Visions?
Sorry, go ahead.
So let's talk a little bit about my vision. I would love to see USPSA more mainstream. I know Frank and Yeeman did a meeting with Shooting USA, the Olympic booster. Not to say that practical shooting is going to be an Olympic sport anytime soon, but um, some of the feedback that came out of that is we need to make ourselves more marketable. And one of the things I'm doing at my local club as match director and kind of overall seeing of everything's practical shooting is we're going to all IPSC poppers, because some of the feedback I've gotten is that poppers look like little kids. And so if you take the tip off of poppers, they look just like targets or Colt speed plates. You're going to see a lot of IPSC targets. I would love to have the option to have light blue scoring targets and other stuff like that on cardboard side of the world. And to again engage the sport. I'd love to have a Red Bull or a Coors Light, I guess anybody but Bud Light as a sponsor for a match. Get the real dollars into it. But that's my vision. That's my big goal. How do we bring the money into it? I've been told if you travel to IPSC matches, there's a lot more support, from governments and other stuff. I think we can get there. We have to be a more sport-like than we are today. And I think we can do that without losing the practical roots. Because let's be honest, if you look at the IPSC target, whoever designed that was very, very smart. That's a lethal target, right? If you look at the shape and you look at where the A zone is,
Yeah.
If you could hang rounds in an IPSC A zone, you'll do fine on the streets.
What I hear.
Yep. Brian his question is Yeeman going to be our president next year? Brian, the answer to your question will be clear when the minutes come out later this week. For me to state anything beyond that, I believe would violate the bylaw 10.2. No other questions? We still have half an hour left. I'm running out of stuff to talk about. Area 3 next year, staff sign ups going to come out soon. We need help. We need help both running a timer. One of the things I would like to hear from people that have worked Area 3 before, would you like as a staff member the option to shoot the match over 2 days and not have to try to plow through all 14 stages at once? If your answer is yes, does that mean you're willing to travel to the match another day early? So think about that. Email me. You know, that's the dilemma I run is I know that not everybody has, you know, everyone that probably has a job has limited vacation time. And I want to be super careful on how much of your time I ask for. But at the same time, I understand that we have some gray hairs and 14 stages in a day when we're resetting and ROing can be tough. And I've talked to other match directors that basically do kind of 2 half-day formats where you may just shoot in the morning and the other half of the staff is ROing and then you swap the next day or that same day. I've also thought about bringing in you know, half of the staff a day early and you know, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of ways to take care of our staff. The other question I have is the per diem enough? You know, is the reason we're not getting as many staff numbers? Do we need to bump that? Does that need to be a higher number? I don't know. You know, I've got to ask you guys that have volunteered year after year to tell me what I can do to, one, tell you thank you for all the hard work you do, and two, make it so that you want to come back and not just because I asked you, and appreciate it.
Scott, one of the questions Kevin Hartman had, what would it look like to have a staff member shooting split days? Any idea what that would be?
Well, one of the things we had talked about is basically you split the staff in half. And I think it was you would work half a day while half of the staff shoots, and then you basically swap places. So you shoot half a day, and then you work half a day. And then it would be kind of staff resetting. So I don't know whether maybe it's just pure staff and you shoot 7 stages in a day and you go and take a break and then you come back the next day and shoot the other 7. Yeah, embedded the squads would all be staff. If we split them, if we split the staff shooting over 2 days, I would be really reluctant to throw in a bunch of competitors to that. Because you know, it's anytime you have a bunch of competitors, you end up with a bunch of staff that just gets worked that much harder because they have 4 or 5 people that are just there as competitors, and you know, they who knows what kind of stage resetters they are. Yeah, I don't know, Brian. I'm just brainstorming here.
Yep. And then I'm trying to take the workload off Scott a little bit so he doesn't have to do it all. So feel free to bang my line also if you have questions, ideas. Like I mentioned, the food truck is something I want to make happen.
Yeah.
The test fire bay or the demo, the vendor bay, we want to have happen. I happen to have relationships with some vendors that I think will come out. So it'd be fun to have some vendor tape. Unknown if we could get guns free to try or Hornady ammo. I mean, there's all kinds of variables, but we want to keep growing the event.
Yeah.
So if you have ideas, feel free to reach out. Scott, community water, I assume that's going to happen again also.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the coolers there worked really good. I did get some feedback from some competitors about hey, maybe drop a cup of bleach into each of those coolers each day, and I think that's probably a really good idea.
Mhm.
You know, I didn't think about it until one of the feedback I got in the thing is, well, you think about this, you got 250 people sticking their hands in those coolers, and where have they been? Huh, okay.
Mhm.
All right, that's a thought I really didn't want. I drank a lot of water out of that cooler.
Ice cream truck. I mean, hey man, maybe that could happen. Well,
Yeah.
we even talked to Scott about if they do require a minimum, just talking out loud, if they require a minimum, maybe the match, assures them they will get their minimum if they don't get it from the competitors. Maybe it's included with registration. There's a lot of options, but we want to continue to grow the event, give the people what they want, as they say. Because we did get a fair amount of feedback on the survey asking about a food truck. So if I could at all make that happen, I would like to.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Water in the bottle is clean, just don't lick the bottle.
I don't think there's anything good I could say to that.
Negative. All right then.
Hi, Sandy.
Is there a way to help set up stages at Area 3, but shoot the match as a competitor? Would that be considered an advantage? I don't think that's considered an advantage at all.
No, you can volunteer and come out and help build. We start on the weekend before and go through the week. That's probably more days than we need, but it depends really on we've all seen the weather in Grand Island, man. You can have 8 million degrees and humid, and you can have mountains of rain. So, um, and this year I've got some ideas. Yeah, it's going to be a fun year.
Yeah, I'm excited.
But we will mimic, price patrol will be the same. There will be a cash payback. After dealing with a couple 1099s this last year, because I don't have to do it, we're not going to be afraid to give them.
Perfect. And then Scott,
Andrew didn't
again,
know that until now, so.
just being real, before you even started handing out cash, people wanted to know how much they were going to get. So I think we talked back and forth. We're just going to determine the amount beforehand based on the entries. Is that?
Yes. Yeah, we'll assign the prize pool probably shortly after. I don't remember off the top of my head what day I put the withdraw cutoff with refund.
Mhm.
Once we have passed the withdraw cutoff with refund, then I will publish the prize pool.
And to talk through how you did it this year, you had X amount of dollars and you waited and did the prize pool after you'd paid all the bills. You set a
Correct.
couple thousand aside to have starting capital for 2024,
Yep.
and then you divide up the rest of the money. But
Yep.
like I couldn't even get to my car. I mean, I couldn't really do anything. There were several people walking up. I'm not trying to be unkind, was like, how much did I get? How much did I get? I'm like, dude, he's gonna determine. Like, I'm really sorry, I don't know yet. So
Yep.
this will just make it easier if we have the numbers ahead of time.
Yeah. So what we'll do is I'll one of the things I'm going to do over Christmas break is start the 2024 Area 3 preliminary budget, and that will be released to our section coordinators. And in that, I'll try to predict how many paid entries we have, and then I'll set a target prize pool, and then the prize pool will be divided up based on percentage of the match. So if single stack is 5% of the match, they'll get 5% of the prize pool. One of the things that I'll have to chat with my match staff and touch on my section coordinators is, do we set a minimum? Part of me says no, because they're all paying a match fee.
Mhm.
But what if we get back to there's 3 L10 people? Do they deserve a cash payout for winning that?
3% of the cash,
I mean, you won over 2 people.
right?
Yeah. The
Quinn's
RM's been
asking.
confirmed. It's Jim McBurnett, is coming back. I had to have that to submit the Form C. Kevin, that was Kevin asked if we RM. So it's the same RM.
So we'll really have
I think Jim did a good job. It was the first time I had worked with him. Yeah, I look forward to working with him again.
so it'll be a lot of the same staff working together again in
We hope so.
2024. Yeah.
I hope we didn't turn anybody away. If I did, then please tell me why. I can't get better without feedback. That was a hard thing for me in my professional life as people left or people went away, to reach out to them and say, hey, what did I do wrong? That's tough.
That is
So-
tough to put yourself out there because you might not like the answer.
Would you? Yeah. Yeah. So that's one of the things that as a match director, range master, I welcome that feedback. I can't get better if I don't know what I did wrong.
Any ideas yet for what the payout? Us just talking. What you want to do for a payout for the shooting challenge? Maybe we'll come up with a percentage of it goes to the winner.
Mm,
We got lots of options, I guess.
In there about half doing 50-50 and doing 50% charity. I like that.
yeah. I don't know. No, I haven't given that a lot of thought. No, I don't have an answer for that yet. I think Andrew, remember what the price pool was at 8,000? Yeah, I think we should be at least that again. One of the things that I've thought about, because we did bump the match fee just a little bit, is doing, whether we do shirts for everybody or not. I want to price that out. Our shirt vendor, she does a fantastic job. I think they look great.
I agree.
But the other thing that might offset that would be providing meals. The struggle I have with meals at Area 3, especially on Saturday, Sunday, is I know as a competitor in previous years where I didn't work Area 3, when I get done shooting, the last thing I want to do is sit under the pavilion and eat.
You want to go get a shower?
Yep. And then if I'm coming to shoot, I'm not going to want to eat a big meal right before I go shoot. So, that's kind of tough.
Yep. The boys always want to go slay sushi on Saturday night. So like, I
Sushi is
understand.
amazing.
That place is very good. So Brian Connolly, that's his favorite place. You always see him there. But anyway, like some people have their routines where they all get together and go to a specific eat 'em up joint. So
yeah. And I think that's part of the fun of the match, right?
Mhm.
It's part of the fun is we do this not only because we like to compete and shoot, we do this because of the people we get to interact with and spend time with.
Yep. I got a DM mentioning vendors bringing stuff to look at for sale. And I have a few vendors in mind that I already talk to regularly. So if I can get them, if they want to sell merchandise, they'll definitely be encouraged to do so. Or if they want to have guns to demo, I mean,
Yeah.
the sky will be the limit depending on what they'd like.
And that's kind of tough. Because matches, say we bump to 300 people next year.
Mhm.
Let's be honest, that's a pretty small market for a vendor to justify fuel, time, hotel. I get why they come to nationals. There's more. What was 400 or 500? Not a lot more. So again, I'm not trying to be a naysayer, but I always put if I were a business owner hat on for a minute and think about it. And that's the best way I know to make it valuable and figure a way to draw these people so they want to come.
Yep. Well, much I should talk. It's nice that some of the vendors that we deal with are into practical shooting themselves. So, like for instance, one of them, Vortex, they have a shooting range, like an actual, it's called Vortex Edge. So, hopefully I'm not talking too much, but like those boys, I've had them in classes. They're coming. The plans right now to come to the Cornhusker match. So, like having those guys, hey, while you're there, Can you bring merchandise with you? Because they're already, they're into shooting, or they're shooting nerds anyway, like we are. So having more vendors come out and attend our match as competitors will be a good thing too, that I'm encouraging.
I've got not a few Vortex products in my safe.
I like those guys. They've been very good to me. Holosun guys, keep name dropping, are big on practical shooting also. They really like that stuff. So I talked to those guys quite a bit. So it'd be fun to get more vendors squatted shooting with competitors.
Jason, if you have a contact for the custom earplug guy, I'd be happy to reach out to him, or Joel would actually.
Yep. Exactly. Just bang my line if you would. Just send me his contact info, or which specifics. I know there's a few different earplug vendors. So
Yeah. Well, we're pretty close. We got 15 minutes left. I'm not opposed to ending a little early. Any other questions? Again, my email, USP or area3@uspsa.org, or my personal email, or yeah, even hit me up on social media. I work for you guys. I'm guys and gals. Yeah, let me know what I can do for you. Thank you, Jason.
yep, appreciate it, Jason.
All right. Well, with that, thank you all for your time. My door's always open to quote what the euphemism, I think would be the term. I hope everyone has happy holidays. Whatever flavor of holiday you choose to partake in. If I have a final message, keep the faith and stay with USPSA. We will come out of this. It's a tough time right now. But for us to continue and be successful, we need you to keep shooting matches and keep doing what you're doing. The election process will work its way through. I will reiterate the call. If you have nonprofit bylaw writing experience, please reach out to me. I need help. Well, Brian's got a comment here. Brian, so this year I set in 2023, I set the per diem for staff members at 120. And then you were able to get a room for 99 a night through the borders. That number will definitely go up. I don't really want to get in the business of booking hotel rooms. I had to book 3 of them for a couple, for the range master, myself, and one other, and I screwed those up. So I can't imagine the mess I would make of trying to book rooms for all the staff. But the per diem will go up. Kind of my target to share my thought process on that is, if you share the room with one other person, you should be able to have $40 to $50 per day that you work to put food in your stomach and gas in your car. So that's kind of where I'm at. That again, that was the question I asked. Should that be more? Area 3 dates, it's the first weekend in August. It's on Practice Score. It should be on the USPSA website anytime. Registration doesn't open until March 15th.
It's August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Yes, August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So anyway, again, just to recap quick, if you have nonprofit bylaw writing experience, please contact me. I need your help. Everyone else, keep emailing the board. We may not reply to your emails, but they are heard. So
This was good. Appreciate you taking the time to do this and setting all this up. Also, I think this is a good thing to keep going.
thank you all, and enjoy your holidays. Have a great see you I guess later.
Catch you on the flip side.